massive welcome everyone for joining us here. We have very fabulous guests that we have here, which is Design Weans in Glasgow. So hello. So it would be really interesting to hear a little bit about this new project that you have. That maybe to start off with, we hear a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Cool. So I'm Phoebe, and myself and my colleague Mook, who's also here, we run the Design Weans, which is an organisation that bridges the gap between students and recent grads and the design industry. Typically, we look at graphic design, but we do sort of try and keep things broad. But we usually, obviously not at the moment, run workshops, exhibitions, events, talks in Glasgow for young or new graphic designers and creatives. So yeah, we started. We're sort of linked to the Design Kids, which is this big global organisation started by some ladies in Australia. Who sort of encouraged people to set up little groups in different parts of the country, different parts of the world. And our friend, Johnny Merritt, started it in Glasgow a few years ago. But then he sort of got busy with the job and other things. And so he passed it on to Mook and myself and another girl called Sophie. But Sophie has also just got a big girl job, and she's now at Touch in Edinburgh. And so it's now just me and Mook.
A little bit about this new project that you've got just started called Show Off, which is brill. I'm so excited to hear more about it. But yeah, it would be great to hear kind of where it all came from, what inspired you to do it, and why you think that doing this big show is so important and so needed.
I think not even after the lockdown, but Phoebe mentioned a bit that we always try and bridge the gap, in quotation, bridge the gap between the industry, and there are many ways that we have tried to do that in the past. But then, when this whole lockdown thing is happening and everyone's degree show is cancelled, it's such a big shame because everyone enjoys going to the degree show so much. It doesn't matter where it is in the country. Say if it's in Scotland, you'd always try and go to all of it if you can. So I feel you're missing a chance to show off your work, to so many people in the industry and to your friends and family. So bringing that experience to you seems like an option that we can take on, and it would be really good if a lot of people submit and get that chance to show their work, and a lot of people get a book so they can see the work in fresh. Yeah.
And it's a really exciting, we sort of, as we
develop, I think we've had the idea brewing up for a few months, and then when it came closer to it, we were just kind of deciding which way would be best to go for, or direction wise, because me, Phoebe, Sophie, and people in our circle, we're no longer a student, and it's been a while since, and we're not really directly affected by this cancelled degree show. So we got a few students involved, and through surveys and focus groups, we just came up with the publication idea together, basically.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we've actually got a couple of students on our sort of wider team to help us make sure that this is something that students want, because we're not students, we graduated years ago. So
still waiting
for us. No, it was really important for us to make sure that this was something relevant and that you'd actually want to do. Rather than sort of just us barge in and say you should do this. So we tried to make, we sort of had a few groups, and I think we came away with 3 kind of main points, which was that about what the students wanted from degree shows, which was that they wanted something to like remember and like celebrate their degrees, something to show off to their family and friends, and something to help them get employed. Those were kind of like 3 of the key points that came up, which we think hopefully we've tackled in Show Off, because obviously they remember it because they get to keep the book, they can show their family and friends the book alongside their peers, the work of their peers, and also the way Show Off kind of works is that if you submit to Show Off, you get a free copy sent to your door as a student, because we thought we didn't want to be something that the students have to pay to enter, because it feels a bit like unfair and wrong, and the students have already had a bit of a like rubbish time. So we wanted
I guess like naturally like Weans, like the Design Weans isn't really an organization that would do that. So
on a different note, we're totally like not for profit. Me and Mook don't take any, we've never ever any money from the only thing we ever do is eat free snacks. When we buy snacks for events, we eat them. But we don't get any money from anything from this, obviously. Anyway, so yeah, we wanted the students to have it for free. So the way we sort of like conceptualized it in our heads was that design studios would pay for the book. So that means that the design studios kind of like pay for 1 copy for themselves and 1 copy that will go to a student, more or less. And then the design studios get the book sent to their door. So they save money and time and effort by traipsing around Scotland to all the degree shows, and they get all the talent like straight to their door. And it also ticks that final point that the students wanted, which is that their work is in front of future employers. So yeah, it took a lot of, we went through a whole bunch of different options of how best to do this, whether we could do a physical show, whether we could do a website, whether we could do, lots of different things we tried. Someone suggested we had like a tour bus, and we like went around the whole of Scotland on a tour bus. So we had like personalized like hazmat suits, and there was a normal degree show with everyone going around in personal PPE. But I don't know if that would have gone down very well. But anyway, we had ideas, and we ended up on this idea of the catalogue. As it sort of it was the most realistic of those ones, but it also seemed to sort of tick all the boxes.
That's so good.
So when the catalogue would be produced, so instead of it being categorized by like either the course, because everyone will be in graphic design or visual communication or whatever, like, that we list them in, or in like school, it will just be like alphabetical order. But then we're going to have like 3 pathways of a journey, let's say, where we give them like suggested journey to take. If you're if you're looking at one person's work, if you want to see someone else's work from the same institution, you'd go to page X. But if you want to see a similar work, then you'd go to page Y. But if you want something like random, you'd go to page like Z. So like every page will be suggested to connect in some way, but not the way that you'd expect.
I was thinking, I've never heard anything like that before, because I would have thought, oh yeah, maybe, I mean, previously, even for degree show, they have the small catalogue that you can have, and then it has, it's split up with different courses. So it's interesting that you're doing it this way, where it's a bit more interesting, a bit like, what's going to happen when I go through here and there. Yeah, it's a really good idea.
Did you ever have those Goosebump books when you were a kid?
Yes, yeah.
That, so like at the bottom you get to choose your own journey. And it's really like, I think we thought it was important that the book had like, you dedicated time to the book like you would a degree show. Like, we don't want people to just pick it up and flick through, which I know is really easy to do, but you want people to like sit with it for a bit. And by giving those journeys, it does mean that you it helps sort of physicalize like the using the book and bring it into like sort of time. So hopefully that works.
No, it's brilliant. It's so clever. I really, really love that. When you came to the decision of, okay, let's do the catalogue, how have you been doing the decision making in general? Obviously, because we're in lockdown, unfortunately. Have you just had a lot of phone calls, or has it mostly just been over emails? How have you guys been able to problem solve this situation?
I think me and Phoebe are pretty much always in contact, either by like phone or message. But I think when we decided that we were gonna like go with one pathway of the three, like of the three that we've mentioned, we were kind of like, well, let's individually develop an idea that we are going to go for, and then kind of pitch an idea, and then kind of went with that once we have decided. So I think for me, it was to like conceptualize the publication idea, but then when I sent it back, it was more Phoebe and Sophie doing like visualization. I think.
And we
So
all, oh sorry, we've got some other people on our team at the moment as well. Like you said, we've got these students who are helping sort of sort of bounce ideas off, and we've also got sort of a friend, Kieran, who's helping us, and he did the wee illustrations, like the sort of show off elements, like the watch and the car and those kind of things. And we brought him on board because he did an Instagram takeover for us recently, and he used his Instagram stories on the takeover to showcase the work of I think it was DSA students who'd had their degree show cancelled, and we thought that was really such a nice thing to do. So we
quite like a generous like gesture.
Yeah, totally, to use your like opportunity or whatever to give that to other people. So we just got in touch with him and asked like if he'd want to help out, because it was partly like his idea which kind of like sparked it in us. And yeah, I think like we see the Design Weans as totally being like collaborative as much as possible. So yeah, we always like to bring people on board if we can. But we've just got a Facebook Messenger group with all 6 of us on, and they must want to kill us because it's literally I mean, it must
we
have
spam so much.
It's just got like a million like, what about this, what about this, what about this. But no, it's been really good actually, and it's quite nice to like talk to people as well, and like especially because usually I wouldn't be chatting to all these people, so it's nice to like, you still feel a bit like work's going on and like people are chatting, so it's nice to have like stuff to do.
Yes, no, that's fab. I was going to ask actually about the branding, how it all came about. Did you have a bit of input in the direction, or did you leave it purely to the designer that did it?
Well, yeah, we all kind of split it up actually. So I did the logo, which is using a typeface called Group 37, which actually was just released by our friend Resa Hardini, who shares, I work in SWG3. That's where my studio space is. And Resa also works there. Anyway, so she's a pal and she's run workshops with us in the past. And she released this font and this typeface, which is like 37 different designers have created a letter or a number each. Which we thought was really like fitting, because it's all about like people coming together and like people from different places coming together, which kind of suits our like all these different students from like different unis coming together. Plus all the profits of it go to the World Health Organization, it's like COVID department or whatever it is. I should fact check that, but it's going to charity. And Race super diligent, so I'm sure it's a good one. But so we decided to use that typeface for the sort of logo
type.
Yeah. So I kind of did that a bit, and then I did like the animations and the cringy voiceover on the Kickstarter video. But then like Mook and Sophie did like the color treatment, and then Kieran did the illustrations. I mean, it's really just been like such a mashup, and yeah, it's sort of like we just screenshot like little bits and put it on the Facebook message, and people are like, "Oh, try this, try that." So it's totally been collaborative. I don't even really want, like, we all picked the typeface together. I think Mook spotted it first. I was just literally the person who put it on the Illustrator document, but it's totally been a group effort.
I was going to ask as well. So sending off the books to all the different studios, is this purely focusing on just Scotland because of the fact that you've got just Scottish students, or are you thinking across the world, everywhere and anywhere?
So for the book, so say we've literally like been emailing every studio that we have ever been in touch with in the past about show off, like the campaign in general, and if they have been super generous, they and like wanted to support the project, they can pledge to get a book. But we have to see how many we're going to be making in total, and how many of the studios who we're targeting have like supported us, and if we have enough like fund to be sending to studios that haven't really responded. So it just really depends. But I mean, the Kickstarter campaign is open UK wide. We just haven't really figured out how like we would manage to send anything abroad in this time with low budget. So like keeping it UK wide, and hopefully that will be a good solution.
Yeah, it's complicated in this time, especially just because of the fact that everything is so unknown. And then as well with like Brexit, does that affect post? Who knows? But yeah, no, that's really, really encouraging to hear that. Yeah, that it's literally going to their doorstep, because I think with Degree Show, they have to come to you. So that's always a bit daunting, I think. I'm trying to put myself back in Degree Show state of mind of being like, oh gosh, this has got to be really, of course you want it to be good already, but just the idea that these people are actually going to come and see your work, and now with your really cool project, it's literally going to them, so they don't even need to move. So it's kind of a nice reflection of how graduates can progress, that they can approach these people, like they can go to them and still be able to get opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously coronavirus is a horrible situation, and it really sucks, but some things are great, which is that you don't even need to leave the house to do work or do anything. Sit on the sofa in your pajamas all day. So silver linings. But yeah, I think it's like great for all of the introverts in us all, for the introvert in us all.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't have to pretend to be an extrovert like all the time anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, living the life. But then I feel like people who haven't, I mean, like friends who don't know this side of me, they might be like, nudge, like you should go outside. Like you should go outside. And it's just like, welcome to my life.
Oh, the feels are real.
Oh, the feels are real indeed.
If you were to give the graduates some advice, what would you say?
Phoebe, you can go ahead.
I mean, it's got to be the famous everyone's Scottish gran, which is what's for you won't go by you. And I just think things like fit into place and things like will work out. This is a crazy like mental time, and it sucks, and like it must be super scary about jobs. I mean, it's scary for me as a freelancer, scary for us all, but like things will work out, and I think like it all will sort of like float. Like I just think everything finds its balance in the end, and I think it's actually a really exciting time as well, because so much change is going to happen, and we're in such a lucky position because we're creatives and we have minds that are problem solvers, are adapted to problem solving, and we're fully capable of coming up with creative ideas to solve situations just like this. So, you know, it's not ideal, but I think some really exciting things could happen. And I just think I don't know, go with just don't worry about it, it'll be fine.
I think
wise words.
My advice, or whatever, if you want to call it advice, I don't know, maybe like let's not call it advice, like maybe like a pointer,
Yeah.
is that it doesn't hurt to ask.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a note to self as well. Like you never know if people are gonna say no or yes if you don't ask, and if like how much they can help you.
Totally.
And I think a lot of studios would agree on that point as well, because I mean it just shows that you're really just putting yourself out there with your confidence and like eagerness, I guess.
Yeah.
So as soon as like they see that, it's more likely that they would be interested than not at all, because they wouldn't know you otherwise.
Totally. And yeah, like kind of on that one, like things can only happen if you sort of put yourself out there. Like people won't come to you. Like if we need someone to do anything, like it only happens if we ask. And yeah, I think you find a lot of the time people are kind and they do help. That's good advice.
Especially with like the Design Weans project as well. We've mostly been just approaching people who we would love to work with, or like are interested in their work, or think that they would be interested in working with young designers or like young graduates, and like if they can help contribute to their development in some way. So if there is like mutual interest on the surface, it's probably likely that they would be more interested in the projects that we do, and like vice versa. So yeah, that's probably how we've done with the Weans stuff.
Yeah, just taking a chance on things and putting yourself out there. And you never know, like even if something doesn't come about in that exact moment or exactly what you were hoping for, like another opportunity might be around the corner, or you make a connection with someone and in the future they might think of you, or you might think of them, or I think just putting yourself out there is a good thing to do. Leaving uni, wait, what was the question?
How did you find life after uni, and like getting into applying for jobs and looking for experiences and things? Or actually, did you consider, yep, I'm going straight into freelance after uni? Or did you think, okay, I'm going to go to an agency first and then make my way into freelance once I've got the experience and all this jazz?
Yeah, so I graduated in 2015, so ages ago. I went to uni in London, and then I worked in London for like 3 years after I graduated, and I worked for like a really small kind of like boutique design studio, which was like sort of fashion art direction stuff, and we worked on a fashion magazine. And then I moved to like a big ad agency, where we were doing sort of big commercial advertising campaigns. And then I decided that I didn't want to live in London anymore, basically. And so I moved back up to Glasgow, which was all a bit like, I don't know if dramatic is the right word, but it all happened it all happened very quickly. It just sort of like, one day I was in London doing my 9 to 5, and the next day I was like back at my mum and dad's house again. So that was a few years ago now. And at that point I kind of went freelance. I mean, I had a wee bit of a moment in the middle where I went back to hospitality, and I was like a waitress, and then worked in a bar for a bit whilst freelancing on the side. Because it's really difficult to go full-time freelance. You need to build up a client base, and that is just something that like takes time. And I think if you don't have the connections, like my family aren't creative or anything, so I just had to sort of do it myself through connections, like a slow process of word of mouth. So that takes time. And so I went back to bartending, and then I went traveling for a bit, and then obviously such a cliche, and then I came back to Glasgow properly, and that's when I sort of like moved out of my parents' house, and I got a studio space, and I stopped working in hospitality finally. But it was like a really long process, and I'm still not like, every month is a difficult month in terms of like, every time, every thing is like a worry and a challenge, and you're constantly sort of thinking like, when will I next get paid? But the amazing thing about living in Glasgow and Scotland in general is that it's like so much more affordable to take risks like that. Like my studio and my rent combined is something that I could pay for on my bar salary, like easily, more or less. So compared to London anyway, which was just, it's astronomical. Like to try and work in the bar and then freelance in the evenings or a few days a week and pay your rent and go to the pub like once a week is literally impossible. So yeah, basically like living in Glasgow has made all that totally possible. But long story short is it's really hard graduating and going out in the real world. And I think like give everything a try, go freelance for a bit, then go back out. I think if you want to go freelance, then you need to, it takes a long time to get those clients. So don't like jump into it and think it's going to be fun, because it's hard a lot of the time. But and getting that experience is ad agency experience is good. Yeah, that's my long ramble. Here you go.
It was a fabulous ramble. It was great.
I think for me, when I graduated, I just wanted to have more experience in doing a few other things. And like, I kind of knew when I was in uni that like going straight into graphic design, being in an agency wasn't really something that suited me that much. And like, I took on a project similar to Show Off when I was in final year of uni, and like really liked the organization side of things, like thanks God, right? But like really also like doing exhibitions and like printing and like community engagement. So my internship that I first got out of uni really involved like all of those elements. So that was like really nice to have that experience. And then I was all over the place for a while. I can't remember exactly where I was, probably at home in Bangkok for a bit, doing another internship with really great people who are like hosting bookshops or making their own like school, like summer school basically for design students. So like that was really a really inspirational experience. And then somehow found myself in Glasgow, because why not? Everyone wants to be in Glasgow. And then when I first got to Glasgow, just kind of, well, actually, for as long as I've been in Glasgow, I was working like a side part-time job, and then did a bunch of other projects that were either Design Weans related or like volunteering in a gallery. Just kind of keeping myself busy with a lot of side projects and maintaining like money, getting money to pay rent on other things. So just keep doing a lot of fun things, I guess. That was my motto.
Yeah, totally. That's a good one.
Oh, I forgot I used to do hill walking a lot. That's what it was.
Oh, I love hill walking. Yeah.
So like my usual week when it was still in glory was like work a few days in a restaurant to get enough like money to pay for things, and then do like some design stuff, volunteering, and then like on any sunny day that I don't do any of those things, I'd be like up the hills.
I love that. Especially in Scotland, it's like the best thing. Such a dream. And the weather's actually been pretty decent. It's like
honestly
hill
it's
walking
a crime.
weather.
It's a crime because it's been so nice and you're like, oh, you can't go more than 5 miles.
Yeah.
Or like no excessive exercise. Yeah, excessive exercise.
Yeah.
The other day, sorry, and this isn't off topic, but the other day, like a few walkers had to be navigated off like the cobbler because they got lost in the fog. And like, come on.
That's madness.
Ruining it for the rest of us.
Yeah. Oh well.
I heard that some people near the border, but actually the English side rather than the Scottish side, once their lockdown was kind of eased a little bit, they tried to get up to Scotland, and then obviously the border were like, excuse me, what are you doing? Get back down. So
things in the south are so crazy though. Like you see these photos of people on the beach and like there are about
It's
20,000
so scary,
people
right?
in
It's
one beach.
madness.
The thing is, they're probably still like keeping like social distancing to a certain point, but like the contrast is too like drastic, and like my introvert side can't deal with it. I think it's just like this is like too crowded.
It's too much, too much.
Too much.
Yeah, but I think it's next week that it's supposed to all kind of ease a little bit, or is it this week?
Tomorrow.
So it's like this Thursday, tomorrow.
Exciting. Okay, well, maybe tomorrow's all going to change. It's all going to change for the better, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Fingers
But I
crossed.
think even from now on, like when we're gonna plan anything in the future, I think it's gonna become a new normal that we plan for like a different experience, I think. Wait, what I'm trying to say is like factor in the fact that we might have to like restrict people or make sure there is space to like for it not to be crowded or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
I think it's really
that's something
exciting.
for the future.
Yeah. I mean, it's like obviously it sucks, but I think it's really like a catalyst for change. And I think that can like apply for the way we work as well. And I think it's exciting for people who do work in sort of like regular jobs. Obviously this doesn't apply for everyone, like shift workers and key workers like have to go in and like do whatever they have to do if you work in a service, but hopefully for other types of work, like maybe it will change the way we think and like the way that offices work and the way that do we need to do the 4-day week and like how doable is it to do things from home and like what does that mean for childcare and what does that mean for salaries. And hopefully like this is a really exciting time for creatives because we can get involved in like redesigning those decisions and like how those will look like. I mean, there's places like Snook in Glasgow who do like service design, who think about these kind of things. And they do like they did a talk with us recently and sort of explained what they do. And you know, they look at the way that systems work, and that's something that like all of us can start to think about and start to like think about how we can change those kind of things. And maybe as much as it sucks, this could be a really exciting time for us all. I think we have to keep that like positive attitude and feel like something good is going to happen because otherwise everything just sucks too much, basically.
I think hold on, now that you're talking, we are working on another project that I think you might be interested in, Megan. So basically, how do I even start this? It's going to be like a collaboration with this sub-organization, I guess, called Lateral North X. And what they're trying to do is, like through this wee campaign called After the Pandemic, is to get creatives of like different background, different discipline to come together and work on small briefs on how to make Glasgow a more like livable, friendlier, green.
Yes, love that. Yeah.
I don't know how else to say, but like, yeah, make Glasgow better in various ways. So we're introducing the project next week, say Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then we'll launch a few briefs and people can do as many as they like. And then hopefully it's going to be like a collaborative project where you work with people you haven't worked with before and get feedback for your project. And then we'll have like a wrap up session at the beginning of July. So say you have like a month to work on this thing.
And does that apply to all creatives? So, or is it more of like just on students that have just graduated and things like this? Just everyone and anyone?
Everyone and anyone. Yeah. And it like the thing is, we're saying creatives because we're not just like, we don't want to say designer, but like creatives is still a limiting keyword. I think like say even if you're a writer, even if you are like an NHS worker or something, like you can still have an input in how to make Glasgow like better. So say we're not really closing the door like for people if they want to come and join us, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
so the project will be open.
Yeah, and hopefully, yeah, totally. But hopefully we'll be able to like link people up and be a bit of like a facilitator in terms of like not a matchmaker, but just getting people together and helping people from different backgrounds connect and work on the project. It should be really cool. But yeah, that's on Tuesday night. We need to release the promo in the next few days, and it will run for a month. It's going to be like a kind of summer school thing. So yeah, that's the next wee project.
I think the outcome that we're all hoping for is that this project will start like conversations about how to make Glasgow different in different ways. But I think our part to it is to engage our young group with the project.
Yeah.
Well, if you can give me the details, I can share it on the UDU page and on my platforms as well. So, but yeah, no, it sounds brilliant. I really like the idea. So my final kind of point or question would just be, do you have any topics in particular that you'd like to highlight at all, or anything more to do with show off or Design Weans that you want to be like, hey guys, you need to know about this?
I had to really like think about this just when you sent over the questions before, like some of the things you want to bring up, and I think like everybody should just give things a go. And I also think like it's really important to, so like for the Design Weans, we don't get paid from it at all, which is like rubbish, and that like working for free is shite, and like you shouldn't do it at all. And we also ask other people to work for free all the time for us, because we ask people to create artwork for our events, and it's like a collaboration, but essentially it is working for free. So it's a really difficult like balance to work out these kind of things. But like, I mean, I guess you do you, I don't know, but I guess that start by you taking a risk, and maybe it's not like a super financial thing at the beginning, but maybe it'll turn into something. But I just think like people, we should all like put ourselves out there and like give things a go. And it would be great to see like 1,000 different Design Weans organisations and UDUs and all these kind of things across Scotland, of like people just doing wee bits. And even if you're a wee bit like one of sort of a person in our Design Weans community has started doing like a film club during the lockdown. So Fridays he sends a link to a Netflix party, you know, like that browser extension
Yeah,
thing.
I've used it a few times. The only annoying thing is though, it's never really in sync with the other person. So you're like, oh my gosh, that just happened, and they're like, what? No.
That doesn't work. But anyway, it's a great idea.
For sure.
But like to just doing wee bits and like making a little poster about them. And yeah, I think like now is a chance to, especially if you're furloughed, like design an Everpress or like do some little tiny thing, and don't worry about it not working. Like it doesn't matter if something failed. Like with show off, me and Mook were like, oh my god, no one's going to submit their work, we're not going to get funded, we're going to put ourselves out there and everyone's going to laugh at us when
we always have that fear though.
Yeah, so I think
Doesn't matter what we do.
Every event, you know, in the hours before it, we're like, no one's gonna come, like the person isn't gonna show off, we're gonna embarrass ourselves in front of this cool person who's done a workshop for us when no one turns up, and it's gonna be awful. And you know, nobody cares, and no one can blame you for trying. Something tiny, like make a really nice birthday card for like a loved one or something. Just, I don't know, just always, I think just constantly like putting yourself out there and doing nice little bits is like the spirit of the Design Weans. And I know everybody does it anyway, and I just hope the Design Weans like encourages people to do those wee little things.
Just keep going at it is probably what I have in mind. It's like there'll be more rejections, but you just have to keep going, keep talking to people, keep making good work, keep being interested, keep being engaged, keep yourself like having a good time. And yeah, just keep going, I guess. That note to self as well, because
Right to say that, I feel like we've both used that as like a pep talk to ourselves. Is what I'm trying to tell myself, to make nice birthday cards for my loved ones. So yeah, it's like
yeah, I think like, but like that's like the nature of it though. Like this early, well, at the start of this year, we had so many big plans, like so many big plans, and yeah, I mean like with the nature of COVID-19, everything that we've planned for is basically like scraped. Even if it was gonna happen in like November or December, like it's all wiped. So just keep going in the time.
The show
And
must go on, as they say.
totally.
yeah, I think Phoebe was definitely better in like trying to keep things like happening, even like online. And I was just like, okay, I'll support you. But I guess now that we have a more tangible project, we're equally as involved.
Yeah. I mean, I've been like lucky in the sense that I'm in a house full of people who are still working. So like everybody in my house gets up at like 8 a.m. and has breakfast together and then goes and sits at their separate desks. So like it's really not forced me to get out of bed, but like really encouraged me to get out of bed and go and do stuff. So like I can't say that it's because I'm some motivated person. It's because like literally everybody in my house is up. So I've been getting up. So yeah, I mean, that's why I was being better. I don't want to take too much credit for that. It's because my boyfriend, get up.
Well, I will end the call here so that you can enjoy the rest of your evening. But
thank you so much
a
for having
massive
us.
thanks. Yeah, it was so nice to chat to you, because I've been meaning to for so long, and I was like, when's the time?
Yeah, I feel like we just like keep missing each other, and like last year, I feel like we were kind of putting the mural idea like out there, but then it happened in Glasgow instead of elsewhere. So yeah, sad.
Oh, anyway, thanks so much for that though. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being super honest as well about life after graduating, because it can be a mad time. So
true that.
Yeah, and thank you for doing show off, because that's a massive thing. And so from all of the graduates, we say thank you for doing that. You guys are fab, and just keep doing what you're doing. You do you.
You too.
Thank you again.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too.
Bye.